All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Scott Brick is here. How are you this evening, Scott?
I'm good, Sean. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing all right. I've got so many questions for you because I have been an audiobook fan. I tried to figure this out for well over 20 years. And
early adopter.
Oh yeah, it was on cassette at first.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yep, it was on cassette from the library. Audiobooks were kind of expensive to buy, so I was at the library a lot. I am not exaggerating when I say I am a super audiobook freak. It has replaced regular reading almost entirely for me because we're just so busy. And I'm sure I'm not alone, I'm sure audiobooks are growing every year.
It is the fastest growing part of publishing.
Yeah. I of course it is. Just look at the different ways we have to consume it.
Yeah.
And I have a commute. I teach film as well. So my commute's about an hour each way. And man, I tell you, that's my time. That's my time. Yeah. And that's what I do. I want to talk really quickly about how you got to where you are. And I'm just not sure if your journey to audiobook narration, was that a straight line, Scott, or is it kind of zigzagged?
That's a great question. I never thought of it in those terms. I never once thought, I know, I'll narrate audiobooks. I never once thought, this is what I want and that's what I'm going to pursue. But I do remember one of my favorite professors of all time when I was at UCLA. His name was Gary Gardner, and sadly he's gone now. But I remember auditioning for him. It was the Robert Reed Awards. Robert Reed from the Brady Bunch.
Right,
he was a Shakespearean actor and never lost his passion for Shakespearean drama and or comedy. And I remember Gary was the technical advisor, the faculty advisor that year. And so I was auditioning for those two men, Robert Reed, dear God, Papa Brady.
Yeah.
And this was like one of the first days of my junior year. And we just come back from summer, and I'll never forget, Gary said, he comes up to me. We were in room 1330 in McGowan Hall, the Theater Arts building on the UCLA campus. And he says, Scott Brick, what have you done? And I was like, wait, what? Am I in trouble? And he goes, what happened to your voice? And I said, I don't know what you're asking. He says, what did you do over the summer with your voice? And I said, I used it. I talked to family and friends. I don't know. And he said, no. Somewhere along the line, you realize that your voice is a powerful weapon, and you learned how to use it.
Nice.
And I was just absolutely dumbfounded. And at that moment, I didn't say, yes, I've got a future in audiobooks. This was 1986, 1987. It was a long time before the audiobooks were downloadable and, digital media. Sidetrack. Years later, UCLA asked me to come back to school and teach a voiceover class, and I said, I will only do it if I can do it in room 1330. Oh. And on the first day of class, I stood where I had stood all those years before. That's great. And I turned to all the students and I said, I don't care whether you have a future in voiceover. I don't have a horse in that race. I'm not here to try to convince you to do it. But in Gary's name, I want to make sure that if you get an opportunity that you're prepared. So to get back a very long answer to a very short question, I never once thought, yeah, I have to get into audiobooks. But when I got the opportunity, I realized how much it meant to me.
Right.
I grew up as a fan of old time radio. Oral storytelling is my favorite kind of storytelling. It's funny, John, the timing of all of this. Just last night, as we're recording this, it was a week or two late, but last night we had a gathering to celebrate my 25th anniversary in the industry.
No,
I recorded my very first audiobook on June 10th, 1999.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We couldn't celebrate on June 10th of this year, 25 years later, because the guy I met that day, the guy who's basically responsible for my career, he was in Hawaii with his family on vacation. So we waited until he got back, and we just quite literally celebrated last night.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Do you think that people get into this through other means, like through acting or through voiceover, like you mentioned before, and then just an opportunity presents itself? Or do you think people just say, no, I want to frickin' read books?
It's both, frankly. Hillary Huber. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her work. If you're not, you should be.
Okay.
She's brilliant. And for all of your listeners out there, Hillary Huber, Huber. Hillary is magnificent at what she does. And I can tell you this, because I've heard her tell this story many times. She and I have taught together dozens of times over the years. And she had a thriving voiceover career where she was the voice of, don't quote me on this, but she was like the voice of Target and Kmart and Chevrolet and all of these big brands, right? You know, I don't know if any of that is true, but she had a thriving voiceover career for national brands. She said to me one time, she said, there came a time where I started looking at my body of work and found that I really didn't care if I sold another Slurpee, but I would care if I was able to record books.
Yeah.
She would be very proud of her life's work and the work that she left behind. So in her case, you know, she definitely aimed for audiobooks. Otherwise, like, you know, me, I was a Shakespearean actor. I did that for over 10 years when I got out of UCLA.
Right.
I was touring with a professional company. I was getting paid, but I was basically barely above the poverty line.
Right.
I was a professional actor, but I was doing work that I dearly loved, that that I was passionate about. And then I got an audition to do an audiobook, and it was like, it was that kind of gasp, that kind of, oh wow, I can do this.
Nice.
And I never knew.
And that was it.
So,
huh?
That's
great.
And look, you get out of life what you put into it.
Sure.
And I still do other kinds of work. I still do other kinds of voiceover. I do on camera stuff. I got to do a voiceover for a film recently, a film adaptation of a book that I narrated. It was called The Storied Life of A.J. Thickery. These things happen every now and again, but for the most part, you know, the people who hire me the most are the audiobook people.
Right.
And it's like, well, that's what I'm putting into life, so that's what I'm getting out of it. So, again, very long answer to a very short question.
That's no problem.
It could be a direct line that you were pursuing audiobook work, or it could be just like, oh, wow, that's available? Great. Let's do that.
You know, I think the advantage of having a job like yours is that you just get to read all these great books. You know, I mean, what a perk.
I tell people all the time, I get paid to be well read. How insane is that?
Now, do you have time to read outside of the work? I mean, do you still read for pleasure, or is that just no time? Do you?
Yes.
You find time?
No, I tell you what, about 20 years ago, I had done the book, Mystic River by Dennis Lehane.
Sure.
It was his first bestseller. It's what initially put him on the bestseller list. And he's a lovely guy. I actually ran into him in New York. We were at a conference together about, 3-4 weeks ago. Lovely guy. I remember after I did Mystic River, he and I bumped into one another about a year later. He had just had his follow-up to Mystic River come out, which was, I think it was Shutter Island.
Shutter Island is, I did not know that. If he's the author of Shutter Island, that's, to me, very impressive.
Yes. And that was the movie with
right, that's a
Leonardo
Scorsese
DiCaprio
film, right.
Yes, it was a Scorsese film. I think it was I think it was their first together. And he and I were at a book event, and he saw me. He said, "Scott," and calls me over. And he was doing a book signing, hardcover copies of his latest book. He was autographing them for people. And he goes, "Hey, I saw you were going to be here. I was hoping I would run into you." And I'm like, wow, I can't believe the guy remembers who the hell I am. And he grabs a copy of his book, Shutter Island, and he signs it to me, and he hands it to me. And I swear to God, it would have been the rudest thing that I have ever said in the course of my career, but I almost said, "Thanks anyway. I don't have time to read."
Yeah.
But then
Ouch.
I examined, but then I looked at it. I'm like, this man is being very generous.
Sure.
He has been nothing but
And appreciative.
kind to me. And he's a brilliant author. And he appreciated the work I had done on his audiobook.
Yeah.
And I instantly just changed my mind. And I went, "Thank you. I accept it gratefully." And I scheduled a motorcycle ride. I had a bike at the time. And I just went on a 5 or 10 day trip up the California coast. And every night I cracked the book and I read it.
Wow.
And I had to make time to read for pleasure. But oh my gosh, what a marvelous book, and what an excellent movie.
Sure.
And
absolutely.
yes. And actually, here I am in the booth, and I've got a really great book in my hands right now. I am a big fan of the history of Hollywood. And there was a company called the Fine Arts Company back in the dawn of silent movie days.
Okay.
I found a book recently, and it's called The Kindergarten of the Movies, a history of the Fine Arts Company. It's about movies when people didn't know how to make movies.
Now that is very interesting to me. I'm going to try to find that myself. I read books on Hollywood a lot, and that one sounds very interesting.
Well, I'll tell you what. I've got let's see, what is the copyright information here? 1980. Yeah, it's been around for a long time. Yeah, 1980. And I want to say the Fine Arts Company folded in like 1917.
Wow.
So it's really early days
Sure.
for silent film history. But, this is what makes me smile. This is my happy place.
Oh, yeah.
And and I can't listen to these books because nobody, believe me, nobody has done an audiobook, The Kindergarten of the Movies, in the last 43 years since it debuted.
Let me tell you the books that I have listened to you, and this is just short list because, like I said, I've been doing this a long time. I made a quick list from memory, so my memory's not the greatest these days. I got to be honest, but the ones I could remember were In the Heart of the Sea, Nathaniel Philbrick, which give me a book about old sailing ships, man, and I'm in. All right.
Oh yeah. Yep. Right there with you.
In Cold Blood. And I had read that in college, but I just listened to it again. It's a good book, so I just wanted to hear it again. Some of the Michael Crichton stuff you've done, Jurassic Park, Lost World, Sphere, because Michael Crichton all through college was literally like one of my favorite authors. Just so smart. Stuff's so smart. You know?
Oh, he's brilliant.
Yeah, he's absolutely. What else? Absolute Power, David Baldacci.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah. Some of the Tom Clancy stuff, Patriot Games for sure. I can't remember everything, but that one for sure. Some of the Grisham stuff, The Firm in particular, which I really like. And I got to say, though, my very favorite, The Devil in the White City, by Eric Larson.
Oh,
that is fascinating. Especially here in Chicago, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That book, I found it fascinating because, with a lesser writer, I don't think anybody could have linked those two stories. Yeah. H.H. Holmes and the White City. Yeah. Of the Columbian Exposition. Yeah. But Eric Larson is brilliant. He just is. and he found a link where nobody had noticed one before. I'm grateful. It's one of the first books I ever did. It was very early in my career.
That's been a while. But I got to say, when I was reading it, when I'm reading it or listening to you read it, I'm thinking, this can't be true. No. What? No way. I mean, it's that outrageous, with the research, and especially the Holmes stuff, which is just extremely upsetting. But I can be honest, the White City stuff I found even more fascinating. The fair. That is amazing.
And you'll forgive me, I hope, I don't remember all of the names that were mentioned, the famous people associated with the fair.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
The guy who designed the natural part of the fair, the parks, the gardens,
right.
He is the guy who basically created Central Park in Manhattan. And the guy who ran the fair was the architect who designed the Flatiron Building in Manhattan.
Okay.
Yeah. Which at the time was the tallest building in the state, if not the country. For many years, Macmillan Audio, whom I'm blessed to work with several times a year, thank God, they were housed in their headquarters, were in the Flatiron Building in Manhattan. And every time I went there, every time I went to Central Park, in the last 20, 25 years, I have thought about Devil in the White City.
Yeah.
Because of what it taught me.
Sure.
About those men.
Yeah, both sides of that story, the White City side and the H.H. Holmes story, they are, the way he explains it, the way he writes it, the storytelling is just so elevated that it feels like fiction. He's so good.
Yeah.
He's just so good.
I remember working on Hamilton, the book by Ron Chernow, which, of course, was the biography of Hamilton that Lin-Manuel Miranda read on his honeymoon when he was inspired to write the musical Hamilton. And I remember my girlfriend at the time, everybody was trying to get tickets. And my girlfriend at the time says, just call them up. Demand tickets. And I'm like, what? She says, tell them that you did the audiobook. I'm like, oh, please. That is not the way life works. But I remember thinking similarly to Devil in the White City, I have never learned more working on a book than I did on Hamilton or Devil in the White City.
I'm sure.
They're extraordinary. Going back to the idea of, do you read for pleasure?
Sure.
When I read for pleasure, it's either mystery thrillers, science fiction, or the history of silent cinema. So I love them all.
Right.
I don't have a lot of time to read for pleasure. Mostly I listen. I believe in an ordered universe. I believe that things happen for a reason.
Yes.
I remember so many times in my life where a book fell into my lap and I needed to read it, and it arrived at the perfect time. I believe in that. I believe firmly, wholeheartedly in that concept. We find what we need. God grants us the blessing that is necessary. There are so many nonfiction titles that arrived in my life when I needed them.
Right.
And so I will never say no to a nonfiction title. I did one recently about the history of the Guinness family, the brewers who since the 1700s in Dublin have been creating Guinness beer. And there's essentially three family lines, three branches of the family line. But one of them are brewers, the other are lawyers, and the other are evangelists. I was absolutely fascinated. And it may have been the hardest book that I've ever done because, oh my God, the Irish, oh my God, their pronunciations, oh dear God. I just wish they would have the decency to speak English. It was an extremely challenging book. but a really rewarding book because of what I learned from it. I love that. So I can't say that I have a preference.
Right.
What I prefer, my preference is that when I need to read a book, that the right book comes along.
Right. Well, tell me this. When you are prepping a book to read, do you approach a fiction book differently than a nonfiction book because of the characterizations, or is there any different approach?
Well, I think the only difference is that you're not going to do accents in a nonfiction book. I think I did an accent. I think I did an accent once in a nonfiction book because the author kept talking about the person he was quoting. He was talking about Paul McCartney. It was a history. Yeah, it was a history of Saturday Night Live. It was Conan O'Brien. Conan O'Brien was being interviewed for the book. Yeah. So I'm reading Conan O'Brien's words, and he's going on and on about the first time he met Paul McCartney was at a dinner after Saturday Night Live taping where Paul McCartney appeared. And he was a guest of Lorne Michaels. And he kept talking about the glorious, buttery Liverpudlian accent. And he said, I'll never forget the first words he spoke to me, "What's going on?" And when I got there, I was like, I did it Liverpudlian. I was like, I'll never forget the words he said to me. "What's going on?" And it had to be done because it had been referenced in the
It's referenced, right? You know what's funny? I've listened to that book too. So
did you really?
Yeah. It's a good one.
I love that.
That's a good one.
It's a great book. But for the most part, you're not doing accents in a nonfiction book. That's really the only difference in terms of the drama and trying to ratchet up the emotion. It's very similar.
Another favorite audiobook reader of mine was always Frank Muller when I was younger. And of course, I just spoke with his widow the other day. Yeah. Just so talented, and I mean, he did all that early Stephen King stuff that I really liked. Yeah. And man, could he transport you?
Oh God,
yeah. His use of voices, the way he was able to, you felt like you were there. Like these were different people talking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
He was excellent.
Stephen King once said of Frank Muller, "When Frank reads, the deaf will hear and the blind will see."
Wow. I also heard him quoted as saying that when he writes his books, it's Frank Muller's voice that he hears in his head.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, Stephen took a number of years off during the Dark Tower series.
Yes.
And I want to say it was between books 4 and 5.
Okay.
Frank had read the early ones, and then he had his horrific motorcycle accident.
Right.
And the next book that he wrote, whether it was book 5 or book 6, I don't recall, but he dedicated it to Frank.
Right.
He said, "The man who speaks, the voices in my head." Basically, I'm paraphrasing.
Sure.
But
Sure.
Frank was legendary. I have heard Frank on some of the greatest American novels ever written. I've listened to him read The Shawshank Redemption and Rita Hayworth.
Yes. Yes.
I listened to him read The Prince of Tides by Pat Conroy.
Yes.
I listened to him read The Silence of the Lambs by Thomas Harris.
Now that I did not know.
Oh,
that I did not know.
Oh, dear God.
Okay. Well, now.
Frank did, I want to say, 200 books in his career. And I say this, I please, anybody listening to this, please don't take this the wrong way. I've narrated 1,100 books.
Wow.
And I'm not trying to compare myself to Frank. What I'm trying to point out is that the 200 Frank narrated were seminal books in the history of literature.
Yes.
Frank was brilliant. And we haven't officially announced it yet, but I mentioned that I spoke with his widow, Erica, recently.
Yes.
And it was about setting up a Frank Muller scholarship.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
In voiceover.
Yeah.
That's great. I love the idea of people getting to learn whatever kind of voiceover they want to do.
Sure.
If they want to do animation, if they want to do video games, if they want to do live announcing, or commercials, promos, whatever. It doesn't have to be audiobooks, but doing it in Frank's name.
Yes.
Doing it in his honor. Makes me happy. I was blessed, 6-7 years ago now. I was in the inaugural class of Audible.com's Hall of Fame, the Narrator Hall of Fame.
Nice.
And there were 21 people inaugurated that night. 3 of them were inaugurated posthumously.
Oh.
And Frank was one of them.
One of them, yeah.
And I was seated at the table next to Frank's widow and their 2 kids. And at a break in the ceremony, I went over and I told them, because they were so young when Frank had his injury, they had so little of their father in their lives.
Yeah.
And I went and I said to them, I know how much you miss him. I know how long he's been gone. And I know how much you should have had of him in your lives. But I want you to know that everybody in our industry still reveres your father. And I want you to know that.
Nice.
So yeah, we're going to do the
That's great.
Frank Miller Scholarship.
That's great. Yeah.
He deserves it.
Yeah. There's who would deserve it more? I mean, that guy. Well, we can talk about him all night, to be honest. If you guys aren't familiar with who Frank Miller is, you've got to look this guy up. Talk about a storyteller. Talk about a storyteller.
Seriously.
Good Lord.
Listen to Silence of the Lambs.
Yes, that's a good one.
The Prince of Tides. Dear God. Listen to Stephen King. Oh, when you listen to Frank Miller, the blind will see and the deaf will hear.
You said 1,100? How many books do you? What kind of schedule are you on?
Yeah, I'm on the deadline schedule.
Jeez.
They call it deadline for a reason. It'll kill you. I do the average length of an audiobook on audible.com is 11 hours long.
Okay.
And I typically, what I aim for in terms of productivity every day is 3 finished hours per day.
Okay.
So if a book is 12 hours long, it took you 4 days to get it done. That's the goal. You don't always reach it.
Sure.
But that essentially means a book a week.
Well,
right?
Yeah, I suppose you're right. Wow.
Yeah. So with,
I was going to ask that. I was going to ask about the sessions,
Yeah.
3 hours, huh? That's what you aim for.
3 finished hours, which might take you 6 hours to record,
right.
Which might take you 8 hours to record,
right.
Whatever.
Right.
But I typically am working on a different book every week.
Nice.
And then you take a couple of weeks off per year, and it really averages out to about 50 books a year.
No kidding.
So
wow.
I've been in the industry 25 years.
Yeah.
1,100 books is not beyond the pale. I mean,
no, that's great. Not at that pace.
Yeah, I mean,
holy cow.
Yeah.
And you say you do other things? What?
Yeah. When time permits.
How familiar with a book do you have to be before you just dive in and start reading? Is there a process there? Yeah. How's that work?
Yeah. I'm going to make a conditional answer to that question.
Okay.
Somebody needs to be very familiar with the book.
Okay.
I work essentially 2 different ways. I work with a director or I work alone.
Right.
If I'm working with a director, he or she has read the book, is familiar with it backwards and forwards, up and down, and can tell me if there's anything I missed when I was going over the book, oh yeah, that character, that character, as it turns out, is from Glasgow, not Brooklyn, or vice versa.
Interesting.
And and they are your backstop.
That makes a lot of sense.
A baseball term. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You need somebody who works on the book needs to be really familiar.
Right.
But there have been times when I have been hired last minute. And there are times I don't want this to be the case, and I do my best to avoid this being the case. But there are times where people will call me up, email me, text me, whatever, and say, we need this ASAP. This is a red ball. We need this. This is an emergency.
Yeah.
And I don't have time to read it.
Wow.
So I will either say, put me with a director who knows this book backwards and forwards and can guide me, or I will hire someone, a researcher. And to be honest, my best researcher that I have ever worked with is herself an audiobook director. So she knows what to look for.
Right.
So she'll provide me. Christina is her name. Christina Rooney. She has, this happened, bizarre circumstances, but basically a week before I started recording Jurassic Park.
Okay.
It just, again, bizarre circumstances, because I was supposed to be doing Sphere by Michael Crichton.
Right.
And at the last minute, they were like, hey, can you pick up Jurassic Park? I said, I don't have time to read it. So I will do it as long as you will hire Christina Rooney to give me essentially a really detailed book report. Also because, it's Crichton. He was a scientist, basically.
Yep. There
were formulae that needed to be read aloud. I don't know if I'm science. I'm an actor, right? And I'm like, you show me a bunch of X's and slashes and dashes, and I don't know what the hell I'm saying. I said, if you will hire her to translate all of that into audible speech, then I will do the book. Absolutely. Count me in.
Yeah.
And they did, which was wonderful. So occasionally stuff like that happens. But what Christina provided me, because I read the book when it first came out 20 years before.
Oh, so you're not 100% cold. Then, okay.
No, I wasn't. Certainly not on that book. One of the most famous books of all time.
Yeah.
But I didn't have time to read it in the 4 or 5 days that I had to prepare. And what she did was she wrote a really detailed book report. What she did was she put the whole book in a page. The first page of her report was, this is what happens in the whole book, from go to woe. Here you go.
Nice.
After that, what she did was she broke down by chapter, chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here are the main characters. This is what the point of view character in each of these chapters wants. This is their impediment. This is what's standing in their way.
Right.
And what I love about her is that she breaks it down by, this is what the character wants. This is what the character needs. Because they're not always the same thing.
You have just clarified something for me, if I may.
Please.
At the end of every audiobook, you have the credits, right? And it always lists the narration, but it also usually does have a director listed. And I've always thought, I just wonder what the director is, what the role is, because I'm a film director, and I just, what is it similar? That's what I always thought. Is it similar in an audiobook situation? And what you're describing to me is it's a little different, but it's kind of the same. It's just written instructions instead of like direct coaching, right?
Yeah, there are aspects of the job that are more technical.
Okay.
For instance, if you're going to use a word that means elephant-like, when you look at the word, it looks like elephantine.
Yes.
But when you look up the word, you realize it's elephantine.
Wow, I'm learning so much.
Right? Totally different. Totally different.
Yes, it is.
When you look at the word frequent, I go to a place frequently. But if I go to that place frequently, and to use it as a verb, I frequent. You don't frequent it, you frequent it.
Frequent.
Yes, and these are different things. So Christina and Tony Hudds and Richard Brewer and Jessica Kay and so many of the directors, the producers that I work with, you know, their work is more technical because they have to look up those words.
Right.
But it's also guiding the performance. I tell you what, one of the best pieces of direction I ever got was on a book called Spark, and it was by the author John Twelvehawks.
Okay.
It was a standalone title about a guy who had lost the ability because of a brain injury, a very bizarre, sudden impact brain injury.
Uh-huh.
He lost the ability to feel human emotion.
Okay.
And it's a wonderful book, Spark.
Yeah.
Marvelous title. And I was working on it, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. And I thought, well, this is a guy without human emotion. I immediately glommed on to Leonard Nimoy's portrayal of Mr. Spock.
Sure.
And, you know, somebody without emotion, it's like, you are my superior officer. You are also my friend.
Yeah.
I have been and always shall be yours. It's just that kind of non-emotional rhythm and cadence. And I was kind of doing that at the beginning of the book. But the director said, literally a page and a half into the book, he said, Scott, I'd like to share with you. I don't want to, you know, nix your performance. I don't want to, you know, say this is the wrong way to go, but I want to share with you something the author shared with me. And again, this is a character who has no human emotion. The author said, please let Scott know that the most important part of this character isn't that he doesn't have emotion. It's that he used to have emotion and he lost it. And now he's looking for it.
Nice. Okay.
Which is totally different.
Yeah, completely.
And suddenly it was like, instead of, you are my superior officer, you are also my friend, it became, you are my superior officer, you are also my friend. It was, it became more of a sense of discovery rather than declaration.
Right.
And that's what a really good audiobook producer / director can do.
Oh, that's great.
For the performance. One of the best pieces of advice I ever heard an author give another author was Stephen King in his book called On Writing.
Right.
Yeah. He spoke about the importance of arranging your office. His first impulse was to put his writing desk with his back to the door to his office. But then he switched it around and he faced it toward his door because he never wanted to turn his back on his family.
Nice.
And I'm telling you right now, I am sitting in my booth, and the left-hand wall, as I'm looking forward in my booth, the left-hand wall is a door. It's a glass door, and it faced the only door into the room where my booth is located. And it's because of that advice that Stephen King gave me.
Nice.
He said, as so many other authors have said, if you're a writer, write the story that you want to read. I always translate that to say, if you're a narrator, narrate the story in such a way that you would want to listen to it. I was presented with a Lifetime Achievement Award from a Voice Academy.
Nice. And
they said, when you get into the booth, what are you thinking about? What are you thinking about your voice, about how to do it? And I said, I got to be honest, when I go into a booth, the last thing I think about is my voice.
No kidding.
No, not at all.
You see,
no,
so that's, to me, someone who doesn't do it, that almost seems counterintuitive. It seems like you would focus on it, but I guess that's just not the approach.
Yeah, you would think, but I'll tell you a story. One of my favorite stories about voice acting comes from a time when I was teaching a class here in Los Angeles, Studio City. We were at a studio called Voice Tracks West. We had 12 people in the class. And 11 of them were out in the outer booth with me. And one of them, the performer, Alex Hyde-White was his name, and he was in the booth itself. And Alex, his father was a famous British character actor, Wilfred Hyde-White.
Okay.
Google him, look him up.
Okay.
You'll totally recognize him.
All right.
And Alex had a distinguished on-camera career himself, and is a really gifted narrator. And I was teaching this weekly class, 4 weeks, like every Wednesday night in whatever month it was. And Alex goes into the booth and he's reading a selection from a biography of Truman Capote. I'm going to have to just paraphrase here, but there was a moment in Truman's life where he was speaking with a woman whom he referred to as Big Mama. I don't know who that woman was. I don't know her name. I don't know who she was to him, but that's how he referred to her, was Big Mama. And there came a time, and Alex is reading this to us, where this woman says, "I love you, Truman." He says, "No, you don't, Big Mama." "Truman, of course I love you." "No, Big Mama, you don't love me." "Truman, why would you say that I don't love you?" "Because, Big Mama, you can't love me." "Truman," she replied, "why can't I love you?" And he took a long pause, Alex did, before he delivered the last line. He paused, and he lowered his voice, and he slowed down, and he said, "Because I don't deserve to be loved, Big Mama." And the subject matter for that week's class was emphasis.
Sure.
And as I learned from Pat Fraley, legendary voiceover guy, there are 8 ways that you can emphasize human speech. Most times, people think to emphasize human speech, they have to, raise their volume. No, you can lower your volume, or you can speed up, or you can slow down, or you can raise your pitch, or you can lower it, or you can pause before you say a word, or you can pause after you say a word. Any of those 8 ways that I just did can emphasize human speech. But his was so special when he said, "I don't deserve to be loved."
Wow.
And the 11 people in the room with me all gasped. But he couldn't hear this because he was in a soundproof studio. So I wanted to share with him how much we all appreciated it. But because it's a class, I wanted to make it a teachable moment.
Sure.
And so I said, "Alex, when you emphasized that last line, 'I don't deserve to be loved, Big Mama,' you did 3 of the 8 methods of emphasizing human speech at the same time. You slowed down, you paused, and you lowered your volume. And I'm just curious whether you did that intentionally. When you came to that moment, did you tell yourself, okay, slow down, pause, lower your volume, or not. And he said, no, I never thought about any of that. And I said, if you don't mind me asking, can you tell us what you were thinking about? And he said, I was thinking about all the moments, all the times in my life where I felt like I didn't deserve to be loved. So, as I told him that day, you just connected with the text in a way that goes beyond the rules.
Sure.
You know, the 8 means of emphasizing. You connected with it on an emotional level.
Right.
And that is far more important than anything else.
Yep.
So as we prepare for things, I certainly don't think about, anything like that. I don't think about my voice when I am acting with my voice. I think about the text, and I try to connect to it emotionally. And if I can, then people will connect to me, and through me, to the author, to the story.
Yeah, again, Scott, I appreciate your time. Thanks a bunch.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
All right.
It's to me, it is always a privilege to get to talk about audiobooks.
Excellent.
And the work that I do. So
excellent.
I'm grateful you asked.
Thank you, Scott.